We all know about servers. They're the thing your friends make to play together for 2 weeks before going to another game and not come back ever again. But what if I told you that that wasn't always the case? That there was a time when servers did nothing but push the game to its limits, with many games, maps, adventures, and challenges nobody thought possible before. And all of that waiting just a few digits from an address away. But fast forward to now, and we have countless SMPs just made to make money. So that raises the question, what happened? It's a really interesting story and you may have been part of it, so let me walk you through the history of Minecraft's multiplayer. So, 16 years ago, there was this dude in his 20s developing an indie game called Minecraft. So the premise was simple, a game made out of blocks where players could edit the world in any way they wanted to by adding or removing them. It was basic enough for people to quickly understand, but also powerful enough to be like a bridge to the mind of creative people where they could bring their ideas to life as ambitious as they were. People quickly fell in love with it, which motivated Marcus, the developer, to keep going and turn it into this kind of fantasy-style medieval survival game with potential for people to make anything out of it. And then he added multiplayer. Now they could do that in a place where other people could also take part of, and so people did. In May 29th of 2009, multiplayer was added, allowing people to make all they could before but now along with friends, and later in September 3rd of 2010, a mod called H-Mode to take this even further, with the first ever plugin API, allowing for simple commands or gameplay features, but then just a month after, Bucket was released, what would become the staple of Minecraft servers to this day. It allowed for pretty much everything, taking it from an exploration game to an entire game engine. And just a few years after, that would evolve into what the golden age of Minecraft servers would look like.
I think I got.
Yeah, okay, what, just both auction, but today.
We're gonna start off by the double screen.
I'm super excited.
And Static Night. One server is highpixel.net, but that's.
We had everything in every platform, from avoiding falling blocks of Pocket Edition to escaping from dragons in Java. All servers were going crazy trying to push the game to its limits, and it almost seemed like there was no limit to be reached with the amount of potential the game had. I mean, you had a polished movement system, graphics, and the ability to interact with everything in a 3D space, so surely people with some skill and effort would be able to turn that into anything they wanted to. If you liked fighting, you had Lion, APQ, Overcast Maverick. If you liked building, you had countless servers with build battle or plots. If you just liked to chat, there were many roleplay servers, MMOs, minigames, tournaments. There was so much to do that just the decision alone of which one to join every time you launched the game was actually hard. In Java, there was Mineplex, Hive, CubeCraft, MCSG, and Hypixel fighting for the crown, and in Bedrock, well, formerly Pocket Edition, there was Lifeboat, Brokenlands, and in PvP. There was variety in quality, something sadly we wouldn't get to see ever again as the game evolved. Running servers required money, and owners aware of that desired selling grinds and in-game advantages, which obviously, even though it meant the servers would be able to sustain themselves, also made the game suffer. And people unhappy with that started leaving servers, which caused many to die. But then Mojang in 2014 stood up against that, prohibiting the sale of those in their EULA. Of course, nobody would want to get sued or get their server blocked by Mojang, so they stopped selling them. The problem was that servers who were relying on it to stay up would also die. Another reason for the decline was the fact that cheaters were rising. Hack developers were improving, finding ways to bypass the anti-cheat of servers, they even had one to start with, and other servers just couldn't compete to afford that developer for one, or mods to keep an eye on the community by manually banning them with reports. Legacy Console also had minigames that, even though weren't actual servers like the other versions, were polished and fun, not to mention based on the ones that servers did have, so many people loved them, but not Microsoft. They weren't making as much money with it as they wanted to because they were paying an entire different studio for the development of it. So of course the best decision for the wallets was to cut it off entirely, pushing the buggy, full of microtransactions Bedrock version to these platforms. This should have been where the story ended, but there's more. Multiplayer had been such an influential part of this game that many people weren't willing to lose it just like that. So the few that managed to survive, even though they tried to keep up, just couldn't do it. It seemed like the formula for those fun and unique games was getting lost. Arcade elements were running games that were supposed to be simple, and minimalism ran games that were supposed to be more complex. Mineplex split into two versions, and that meant less resources and effort could go into each one, causing games to be broken, tiers to rise, and eventually leading to its shutdown. The chunk merged with CubeCraft, which then dropped support for 1.8, along with some games and a first texture pack. Epicube got sold, but Lion closed, Overcast Network got sold, MCSG closed, the Hype Java closed, leaving Hypixel Land at the top. And since they already won, there was no reason to keep on trying, so they stayed with this approach of copy other servers' games and improving them. But that makes me think, what has Hypixel done? Other than Skyblock and their original adventure maps, I struggle to see their contributions to servers. World Wars is just a copy of MCC's Battle Box. TNT Run was made by Grony. Bed Wars is a concept from Gummy HD, the beat is just Kid PvP. Even their latest game, Shiva Wars, is just the same game that was on Epicube back then with the exact same name. What did it take to? And every new server seems to be doing that. Stick to what works. We get SMP after SMP, each with some kind of twist, custom items or map that they definitely made themselves and didn't just download. It's like servers have become a business when they started as the way for passionate people to create amazing experiences that mark the childhood of many. And it's sad to see something so special fade away. Topnet and MCC Island have been the latest attempts to bring that back, but non-successful. Topnet was just Bed Wars and Valorant in Minecraft, and MCC, even though looks amazing, have games that just aren't as fun or replayable as the ones we were used to. Not to mention their first texture pack and the fact that them being based on the latest version don't appeal to everybody. If only there was someone that did understand the way of minigames were made. With the quality and standards we expect from today, we would have reached the perfect server by now. A place with new games, balanced systems, pretty maps, where everyone from everywhere could live again what the purpose of the game was. Well, that may be here. A server made with genuine passion from someone that deeply cares about this topic and have spent the last 10 years building skills to make this dream come true. I present to you Red of Green. Now, before I show you the project, I just want you to know this video wasn't an ad. It's a topic I genuinely loved and have made all of this with the purpose of making someone happy rather than just making money. So if that brings you peace of mind, I hope you're excited because I got so much to show you. So this is it, years of work before your eyes, and everything you'll see is a result of many attempts at doing so. To get everything right, I built every map at least twice. Like this lobby, which is a mixture of the old Minecraft aesthetic along with some modern building techniques. It might be my best build ever and I'm so happy with it. It has these mini-maps scattered around the map and everything has an interior. Next, the shuffle feature, which you've never seen before in another server. It's basically a private lobby for when you're in a party so you can vote for which game to play next. You'll have one of three by default, but I plan on making them unlockable. One's a beach, one's a space station, and the other a rice field. Now, the minigames. Meet Snow, a game where two teams of 4 players will fight against each other with snowballs. Snowballs have a cooldown of 3 seconds, but will make you die on 1 hit. You can find armor around the map, which will make you survive 1 extra hit, 5 rounds, and you win. This is Caveman, a game where a player, the caveman, has to dig out of a cave and kill 7 players, infecting them with its disease. Once infected, their objective will be to keep spreading it, killing other players. But as the game progresses, the survivor's skill will upgrade to help them survive, and if they do long enough that they win. If everyone dies, the caveman wins. Mid Racing, a parkour minigame where players will race each other across several maps with checkpoints. The twist is, each checkpoint will give the players 1 hit that they can save or use to mess with other players for the victory. Now, I know this may sound like a simple concept, but it could be not. Actually, I wanna make this a 3-sided game where it can be between running, boats, and flying, to later be inspired by console edition glide minigame, which is impressive given the fact that Elijah doesn't even exist in this version. Midway games are version of survival games where players will fight against each other in beautiful worlds with no kits, no upgrades, and no arcade elements whatsoever. Just a classic experience with a shrinking border. Mid Football, a PvP game where teams of 4 players will fight against each other to get into the other team's goal. Like tag, but the opposite. Instead of making someone eat, you take it from them to get into the other team's goal. Mid Spliff, another classic based on the Spliff and the Tumble minigame for console. The difference is the maps are crazy, and we've made it so if you observe right up their wall, you'll start getting 8 blocks every 30 seconds, which you can use to bridge to other survivors and spliff them. Now, as much as I wish I didn't have to, I need to ask for your help. Servers are quite expensive to make, and I reached the point where I realized I simply can't afford it all by myself. As Minecraft evolves, its requirements to run a server also do with it. With the same gigabyte that you could use to bring a couple people many years ago, you can't even start one nowadays. That's also the reason you see many servers going to Bedrock. Pokemon MP, the main server software for Bedrock, has way less requirements, but it's also way less complete. That's why I made a website to briefly present the project, and if you like it, you can donate towards the development of it. It has a goal which would be cool to fund, but even if we could just afford one game, I would be happy. That's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.